Okay.
Let's start talking about it. Right. So, yeah, just continue what you were saying.
So, the last arc feels fast-paced. Kind of to say the least, actually. Feels fast-paced. And there's one episode that I'm... Once again, spoilers. I don't know why you're here if you... Anyway. I just have to mention it a million times because I would feel really bad. I would feel guilty.
Yeah.
There's... In one episode, and I can't remember if it's 23 or 20... Or 22 or 23, but... no, it has to be 22. Where they spring a trap on Gateau, and they end up not getting a clean cut on his head. Basically.
Yeah.
And Miggy's like, well, we're dead. And so he tells Shinichi to run without him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to die.
Yeah.
And so he does. Shinichi, protests a little bit, obviously.
Yeah.
But then he runs away.
Which, personally, I thought was a really stupid decision, seeing how the next few seconds played out. It took a while for him to, restructure himself. And I feel like... Yeah. Even without Migi on his arm, Shinichi could have, finished him off or something.
I just feel like that's the case, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, what saved that sequence, in my opinion, was it was another, big and emotional, growth step for Migi himself.
And that's good, except for the fact that we haven't seen that at all. Now, admittedly, there hasn't been much interaction with Migi on that front in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
But he's watching his kind basically die out.
Yeah.
By humans. And then it cuts to the Gateau arc, which immediately then Migi has this big emotional step.
Right.
Which, once again, just seems weird. It seems disjointed to me. And that's why I was kind of like, I don't...
There's only a few other steps before that where, it's only in that same episode a little before he was, admitting fear for the first time in the series. And then before that would probably be Tamura Reiko.
Right.
Just seeing her selfless acts, he was, in deep wonder about that.
Yeah, he was definitely thinking about that.
He's like, what the...
Yeah,
I don't understand.
So, I mean, from that to that would be a logical step, we didn't see a lot of actual time with Migi about it. It just kind of happened. And it wasn't like I hated it. I was like, oh, okay. That's not... He should logically get there.
Yeah.
Especially by now.
You just want to see a little bit more of that development. It would feel a little more natural.
Yeah. I don't know. That whole arc was weird, because then immediately after that, he goes and meets a random old woman and spends 4 days with her.
Oh, and yeah, that was just...
People have been saying, oh, that was such a great thing. I really liked that. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand. That's the one thing that I don't get.
It was definitely a strange paced thing, because you could tell by just the presentation of the second half of that episode and that whole sequence, they're trying to make her feel really important, but she's literally a character for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, so we've known her for 2 minutes, and now there's a montage. Oh, now it's been 2 days. Now it's been 3 days. Okay, now it's been 5 minutes, and I know nothing about this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now she's being tough old grandma and telling him to man up.
Yeah.
What? Why? I don't understand. If you would have taken 3 days, if you would have taken 3 episodes and actually developed that and had him be like, what am I going to... That was the other thing. What am I going to do without Migi? That lasts for not even 10 minutes.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
He gets distracted a lot from her.
Yeah.
And so he's not thinking about it.
Mm-mm.
So
and then you realize he's still kind of alive in that episode.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. In 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he might still be alive. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? Okay. Wait, slow the fuck down, people.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Another part that was kind of rushed, in my opinion, was the basically the Parasyte massacre part, I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, that arc was good in kind of the thriller, intense aspect.
Yeah.
and kind of seeing how humans like actually deal with the parasites. That was cool. But yeah, I totally agree. It was like,
it's like if you I don't know. I guess when looking in retrospect, it's not quite true. But like initially, I felt like it was like they went from knowing nothing to knowing everything and having everything under control, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But I guess when you think about it, like throughout the series, they had samples to research. Like every once in a while, they picked up a carcass.
And he ends up knowing. And then Shinichi, of course, makes the flamethrower thing, and they're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
well, he actually
which
does.
is kind of sad because that didn't end up getting to put to use.
Exactly. So
kind of thing.
I liked that arc, and I should say I liked most of the arcs.
Yeah,
I really did.
Yeah.
I think it was the last arc. Even though I did like it, still it felt too fast. It felt like they weren't giving time for things to develop. I mean, Goto suddenly he chases him into the forest, and Migi tries to ambush him, dies. Shinichi runs away, spends a few days with the grandma.
Yeah.
Chilling. I don't know what they're doing. And Goto is turning into a beast.
Yeah.
All in the process? Wow, that would have been cool if we got a little bit of that.
The development of
like a development of that too. But instead it's like, nope, episode later, okay, time for fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fight, by the way,
it wasn't amazing.
I mean, there were a lot of fights in this show that I felt like that though. Sometimes where I was like, that was so disappointing.
But I can't bag on the action not being top notch too much because at the end of the day, this wasn't a series that solely emphasized action or it was heavily balanced on the action.
I thought it was going to, and then it definitely doesn't, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I think it ends up being a good show, but it does seem a little weird that that's kind of the way they sell it. And sometimes they spend a really long time on a fight with there being not a lot of action. Goto is one of those.
Yeah.
Where Goto must spend 5 minutes walking towards him.
Oh yeah, and he's thinking a whole essay in his head.
And he's thinking an entire monologue while he's just slowly walking towards him.
Yeah, yeah.
And he does that 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, you must not be very smart. Just fucking kill the dude. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You just gotta think, okay, this is anime time pacing. It's really
I guess
seconds kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. So
I don't know, watching Kokoro basketball, they can have entire monologues while they're jumping up for a shot. It's that anime timing.
Yeah, anime time slows down, man.
Yeah.
Everything slows down.
Everything slows down for monologues.
Yep, it's so true. So yeah, but I didn't end up really minding that last arc, but I didn't like it very much. I didn't think it was the best arc by far. I just thought it was okay. I did like the last part of the Goto arc where he kills him.
Yeah.
And there's that internal monologue, and I like how it goes from I need to kill him for the good of humanity to no, I'm a human. I'm not a big enough. Well, not a big enough person, but I'm not the person to make that decision. Nature should.
Right.
Because nature made the decision about us as well.
Yeah.
And then he goes, no, I need to protect my family.
Exactly.
Which follows the kind of the biological aspect of the biological research, I guess, aspect of the show.
Yeah.
About altruism.
And I kind of mentioned this before to you, and in the 23 review is just that's probably the thing I loved most about that episode is just this thought process of we've been through this series, we've been jumping through what is the justice of nature and organisms in survival kind of thing. It's no, there's something strong beyond justice, and that's love. You know.
Yeah.
And it's recognizable to stand as a strong force like any of these others, and it's hard to argue against it. You know. Yeah. That's what I loved about the ending of that.
Yeah, and I thought that was a good ending. It was just a weird arc. Mm-hmm. And then the last episode scene was whoa, different. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely difficult to get the pacing exactly right because we also got to look in retrospect to just all of these different animes that have had so many like sequences of like dragging something out or like filler time or something like that where like even if it's not a filler, they have this downtime where you're just waiting to get to something else kind of thing.
I know where you're coming from, but I feel like this show did that as well. It just did it in smaller increments. There's downtime of monologues.
That's true.
Every episode at least.
Yeah.
So I feel like that element is still there. It's just not a full episode's worth, and it's not a 5-episode fight. It's a 1-episode fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I feel like there's still just as much monologuing or
That's
waiting.
True. But not all monologuing is steering away from, like, what we want to get to. Like, when I think of that, it's like there's the action, but there's also the main themes that they go back to a lot.
Right.
But I do agree with you that there is still down point time. Like, the down point time I think of is, like, what's the dark-haired girl's name that died early on?
Right.
Yeah, just her, like, screwing around and getting killed, which really didn't accomplish much at all.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sends him into, I don't know.
It makes him upset.
But
lots of things make him upset.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other arcs. A little more, like the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I think that this show started off strong.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, this is a really interesting show.
Yeah, like the base premise of it is very unusual.
Yeah. And the novelty of it wears off by the end, so that, you're not just like, it's weird and wacky sort of thing, or it's like, it's kind of scary sometimes. Like, it's kind of has horror elements and thriller elements. It that all wears off by the end. But it starts off really strong, in my opinion. The aesthetic and the animation is surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Especially that first episode. I was not really expecting that good of animation. I feel like animation is on a point now where it is getting better and better. The anime industry's not getting smaller, but it's getting like bigger studio wise, and I think that's helping. The dedicated people are left. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's where the animation is getting really, really good.
Absolutely.
Because this is not a big budget show.
No, and I mean, that's the thing. To me, I would say the animation, it's not Sword Art Attack on Titan level quite yet, but there are, like, scenes or something, or, like, special, like, action sequences where, like, the alien's face just opens up, or the certain part where they're looking over a sunset where it gets super, like, you feel the, like, top-notchness of it all, or, like, the element of like, oh my gosh, this could be a painting or something.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it really is. It's surprising.
Yeah.
With how high quality it gets.
And that's slowly becoming a standard.
Yeah. No, it is, which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the show kind of takes off from there. It starts off relatively slow. But
it's those typical just like learning what's happening and growing as a character kind of.
You don't have any idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And the first couple episodes, I think, are the strongest in the whole theme of, like, Migi not understanding why humans do what they do.
Yeah.
That's definitely the strongest in the first, like, not even half of the series.
Not only does he not understand, but it, like, Migi and Shinichi aren't even cooperating really at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, they're too deaf. They're, in every sense of the word, at that point, they're two separate beings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think when the show kind of starts to have that element of like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Is with his mother.
Yes.
So that's kind of when the show takes off. They go on a trip. Mother gets turned into a parasite, and shit gets real.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I was like, oh, like, it was just very entertaining at that point. Like, I wasn't even worried about most anything going on in the show. I was just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I want to watch more of this. And it really, in my opinion, I think that might be the strongest part of the show.
Episode 4 is the pivot.
Yeah.
Of it.
So I think that's the strongest part, is kind of that arc. He goes after, finds his dad, then he has to murder his mom, basically. Well, murder the parasite that infected his mom. Basically.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
He has to murder his mom.
Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he has to, and he goes through this whole process of, like, he gets stabbed through the heart. Miggy basically infects him to keep him alive.
Yeah. And
puts Miggy himself inside his entire body.
Right.
So now you have a protagonist who's a badass, along with having all these other themes, and that's kind of when the action.
I think it's really brilliant the way they did that too. Along with just looking at the intro, in a way they show everything in the intro. They do. But like first episode of the series, you see him like as he is in glasses in the first couple frames, but by the end of it, he's this completely different looking person. Yeah. And you're like, okay, something is gonna happen.
There's a good bit of foreshadowing.
It's like, oh, does he just decide to be cooler or something like that as time goes on? No. Like the way that happened, I don't think anyone could have predicted. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I except for the opening, which kind of spoiled it.
Yeah.
You can't really like
how it's gonna happen. Yeah. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he just straight up gets fucking stabbed.
Yeah. He gets killed, basically.
Yeah, no, he does. And then it's like, oh, okay, now he's on the brink of death. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's incredibly intense.
Absolutely.
And then he wakes up, and he's obviously a completely different person.
Yeah, he's a wreck emotionally, and he's, like, very, like, physically unstable, too, just getting, like, stabbed recently.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, I mean, that whole arc is very well done, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Just kind of pacing-wise and, like, I guess entertainment-wise. I can't think of a better word for it, but it's just, it makes you want to keep watching.
Yeah, because it did have some good, like, sequences against, like, different parasites. Like, there is that one middle guy who is in, like, a few episodes. I can't remember his name, but the glasses girl was into him.
Yep.
And, like, that ended up being kind of a cool, like, middle sequence of just, like, kind of growing kind of thing. Yeah.
I think he ultimately is a boring character, but that's fine because it, like you said, he just kind of grows in the process.
He's a middle step enemy, basically.
Basically.
But what is it? The middle arc, the reason I like it the most is it starts bringing about like my favorite element of the show, and I've told you this before, but basically you can boil, or at least what I've heard is you can boil a story down into man versus man, man versus nature, and man versus self. And with Shinichi getting stabbed in the heart and Migi flowing all his like stuff through him to make him superhuman, it's also affecting him mentally, and just like he's becoming a lot colder and stuff, and for a lot of times he can't like cry or something like that, and he can just like shut off his panic like that, where it's coming to the point where like, am I human anymore? Yeah. And it comes to the point where you have blended the themes of man versus man and man versus nature into one theme, and I think to do that at all, but on top of that to do that well, is absolutely incredible. Because you think about it, it's like, okay, he's struggling with who he's becoming, but it's the parasites that's making him become that, but he's fighting the parasites kind of thing. It's all blending into one. It's like, oh my gosh. I think that worked out so smoothly, and I don't know, just that element like thrills me a lot, and what I enjoyed about the middle part the most.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the part I enjoyed about the middle part too, is he begins to have reservations because now he's experiencing basically what Miggy is. Yeah. Like actually experiencing it himself. Right. And then he gets caught up on that in a huge way. And I agree. I think that's a really good part of the show. The one thing that kind of, and I mean this is just a minor complaint and it may seem very nitpicky, but he gets caught up on not being able to cry.
People like, call him out on that weirdly too much. Yeah. Or like they say, are you human? Way too many. Are you are you even human? Like,
way,
way too many times.
Way too many times. Like, to the point where I was like, okay, we have exhausted this.
Yeah.
It is time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, that's the weird, like, that's the storytelling device that they use to kind of introduce and keep that theme going.
Yeah.
And it's really weird.
Yeah.
Like, are you even human? Yes, he is. And he's like, I don't know, I can't cry. That's your point that you're stuck on? Dude, you're fine. He's like, I have, and I think there's something to that theme because he has a lot of emotions. He just literally can't cry.
Right.
And he's like, and that
just
seems
the whole
to be
thing
what sets humans apart.
Yeah, and just the whole thing where he can shut off all his panic like a light switch.
Yeah, he's like, I have all this emotion and then I'm done. And I'm over and I can't cry.
Yeah.
That seems to be the human, like, that seems to be the determining factor for him in being a human.
Right.
But it's just dragged on a little bit too much.
Right.
And that's actually why I don't like the, what is her name? Kana? Kana art? Is it Kana?
The dark hair.
Yeah, dark haired girl.
Maybe, I can't remember.
I can't remember her name either because
I didn't like her.
She ultimately ends up being kind of a boring character.
Yeah, she didn't have that much to a point of her. She was just kind of this weird stalker who got herself killed for stupid reasons.
That's the thing, is she's like, oh, I'm in love with him, and he's my white knight, which that dream was kind of funny, like the dream sequence that she has is funny, but even at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I don't know why I should care.
Exactly. Yeah, that part felt the most fillerish to me.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, I got you killed because I drug you here. And I can't even cry over you. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only awesome repercussion to that was when he, like, freaking punched the heart out of the Parasyte.
That was fucking sick. Okay?
Yeah.
He just goes, handle the defense, and then he fucking punches a hole in the guy's chest and plucks his beating heart out of it.
Yeah, exactly. He's
goddamn.
Like, Migi, take defense. Like, what are you talking about?
He destroys that guy. He destroys him.
Yeah, it's like, okay, dark-haired girl, you're a girl who likes him. Okay, ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. That is the best summary of that episode ever. That is exactly what happened. I was kind of like, don't care. Oh, you're dead. It's kind of sad. Damn! That was really cool!
Right.
That's the entire episode.
So I guess we got something out of it.
You got something.
Thank you, dark-haired girl, for the heart punch.
Yeah, right. And then I think the next arc is Tamara Reiko, which I really like a lot. Mm-hmm. She's very interesting, and she's changed.
She's hands down the most interesting female character in the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like every other female is like a damsel in distress, basically.
Yeah, and she's a parasite that seems to begin to understand humans.
Right.
And then she has the altruism aspect to her when the detective's about to throw her baby off of the roof. Yeah. She just kills it instantly, and then she goes, "I don't know why I did that."
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's very interesting because she was the one that was like studying that. She was trying to study and understand altruism and understand why is this a thing? Why do humans do this?
Right, but then, like, just the influence of the child just, like, started to, like, change her.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
And then that brought about what she said is, like, humans and parasites are two halves in a whole kind of thing. Right. And that came at the right time because before that arc, we were focusing on Shinichi and how the parasites are changing him. And now we're moving to how humans are changing the parasites.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And that was... So I thought that arc was very good. Yeah, and also it closed his whole storyline of not being able to cry. But also of getting over his mother. Yeah. It's like, meet the one... Right. You know, the fortune teller tells him, meet the person who opened the hole. Yeah. Close it. Yeah. And so he does, and he meets it in the most unlikely way. Yeah,
he wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. So I thought that was very cool. I thought it was good. And there are still problems with that arc, too. Like the detective, and I didn't really like the detective all that much. I don't know, maybe it's just me.
I think he
kind of goes back and forth a lot.
He could have been one episode less.
Yeah,
I
agree.
think.
I agree.
It's just you initially meet him, and then he gets his family killed.
Right.
Like I like the ending of him basically.
Yeah. No, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But so I mean, I end up really liking Tamara because she's just straight up interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, well, straight from the beginning, I think she was interesting because she was far more advanced than the other
and
parasites, and she was the one straight from the get go was like, no, we need to blend in, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
If we don't, we'll be dead.
Yeah.
Like we will be eliminated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she was the smart one.
Yeah.
She was definitely the smart one. So, I ended up liking that arc. I really like that arc, and of course it wraps up his whole, I can cry thing.
Right.
Whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Kind of his reservations on being a human, because he realizes he is.
Right.
Basically.
Absolutely.
Actually, another thing I don't like about that. Satomi sees him with the baby and crying, and her first thought is, he's back. I'm like, how do you know that? You just saw him crying. That's literally it. Like,
that's true.
It just seemed like, oh, he's back. Like, he's so sweet again. Like, you don't...
Like, it...
What?
It basically heavily placed the border between human and parasite on one thing. Crying.
Yeah.
And it didn't get off that, really.
Yeah.
But as
and it kind of reinforces it oddly. And that's not... I don't think that's what they were going for, but that's just what it felt like to me.
Yeah. It was very, harsh on that aspect in the midpoint. But after that point, they kind of put that aside.
Yeah, no, they do. They do. And that's the wrapping up point.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's them fucking murdering all the parasites.
Survival, the showdown.
Yeah,
basically.
And I also liked that arc. Gato is just a total badass, and it's very entertaining to watch what he can do.
Seriously.
And then there's the quote-unquote twist that the mayor or mayoral candidate or whatever is actually a human.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No.
And as he's making that speech, I'm going, he's a human.
Yeah.
Oh, well, alright. And then, I don't know, the whole speech just seems weird to me because he's like...
Yeah, what was his reason for supporting the parasites?
Because humanity is a parasite on Earth, basically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we need to respect the food chain. And I'm just kind of sitting here the whole time like, okay.
Yeah.
That was lost on me.
I guess...
Maybe I just didn't get it. I don't know. But I was sitting there the whole time like, okay. I mean, yeah, I guess.
I guess one way
cool.
you can look at it is, all of these parasites and a lot of humans are, hardcore on this... preservation of self, and then maybe they were trying to make him hardcore preservation of the earth.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Which I definitely get.
Yeah.
I definitely get. He wants to like he said, I want to. Well, he didn't say this, but kind of preserve natural order.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But as he's talking, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be human, and that's not much of a twist.
Yeah.
But, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and then I was kind of like, I don't know, your speech doesn't really fit with anything. I don't know. I just felt weird. He finished his speech, and I went, I mean, I guess, but I'm more worried about the main character right now.
Right.
And he's like, humanity, we're a parasite on Earth. Okay, bye. And then he died, and I was like, okay. That's cool. And that gets brought up later when he's fighting Gato, for sure. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. For some reason, it felt misplaced. I don't know why.
I see. I guess, I don't know. In a way, I kind of liked it because of the anticlimacticness of it. Because,
that's true.
Even if you thought he was a human, you wouldn't think it would end so quickly.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
and it does.
A little surprised there.
It does. Yeah. He's just dead immediately. That's true. That's a really good point.
Another thing I really like is the character of Gato, besides the fact that he's just a total badass, is just his the ending explanation of his structure and his fragility makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's an interesting I guess it's not really a metaphor. Well, it kind of is in a lot of ways, but it's a very interesting way to explain who he is.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah.
I like him a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I think he's a very cool character.
Definitely.
And I also think
he's not like the main Goto. Like his right hand was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But like him as a character is just like, I'm not taking any crap. I'm not doing anything like stupid. I'm just gonna fight and kill.
Yeah, and he really is more pure Parasyte.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's definitely in contrast to Tamura.
Yeah,
which is why I like that a lot, because I was like, oh, that's kind of
you see both sides of the extreme, but like unlike the hundreds of other Parasytes, Goto does it right.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's like hardcore Parasyte and doesn't get killed right away.
Seriously. Yeah, he likes murder a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I really like some arcs of this show, and I thought it had a really strong opening.
Right.
And then past the opening, definitely more episodes just past like the opening, but it definitely had like maybe a first strong half. Mm-hmm. And then kind of middle for a while. Yeah. You know, like guy he goes to school with, and whatever black-haired girl name. It's gonna bug the crap. I think it's Kana, but I don't know. And then Tom Ray goes really good, and then the other arcs are okay. And so it was kind of a roller coaster for me. Absolutely. And it didn't end on a strong note. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the other thing that I'm struggling with, is I'm just kind of like, I didn't feel like it ended on a strong note. I felt like that last episode was just strange to me, and the pacing felt off in the end of the series.
The ending messages did it for me. Okay. Like, despite the pacing of it, like, the ending messages really made me satisfied and happy. Yeah. About the show, and just like the development of the characters. Like, this show, like, emphasis on like a few characters. It did an amazing job with the development side of them, I think. Okay. Like with Tamura Reiku, Miki, and Shinichi. I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. I think Shinichi has a pretty good character arc. Yeah. Throughout the whole thing. And I really, like I said, I really like Tamura Reiku a lot. Yeah. I think she's an awesome character. Yeah. So. Absolutely. So yeah, I like the series. People probably want to know. I don't know if I want to say it, but people probably want to know what score we would give it. A score? Oh, I'm not good at that. Yeah, neither am I. I'm sure of that, right? I'll think of a number really fast, but don't take it too seriously. Okay. 7.5. Oh. Okay, I was going to go stars. No, that's okay. 7.5 is okay. What would my score be? Yeah, maybe like a 6.5. Okay. I would say like a 6.5 for me. Yeah. It's not set in stone, though, you know? No, it's definitely not. And like I said, I think my other opinions on that are kind of... They're not skewed, but just... It didn't end strong for me. Right. So... That's usually a pretty big indicator for me, so that's probably why. For me, this show wasn't a, oh my gosh, it was incredible and will impact me forever kind of thing, but like, for me throughout the show, what I was looking at was just strong pieces I can take with me that I can really appreciate, and it gave a lot of those. Yeah, no, so, I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're right. I'm the same way. I just felt like there were some very strong elements of the show, and it was just straight up an enjoyable watch. Absolutely. A lot of the time. Yeah. I mean, there were the Kana arc, or I think it's Kana, I don't know. Her arc is but everything else, at least I was enjoying it. I was sitting there enjoying it, and then there's other parts of it that are interesting, really interesting. Right. It had interesting theory, a very like unique base concept, and a few things here and there that just weren't unexpected. Like we were talking about like the mayor just getting killed so fast, or what is it, the mouth guy, the mouth parasite guy, not dying. Yeah. Like, when you look at that guy, he's like, oh, he's gonna die. Like, he's dead. Yeah, no, he lived, which, just little things like that I enjoyed. And, of course, the whole, like, of course, the turning point was the episode 4. Just a lot of strong pieces. Which,
yeah, definitely.
Which I can look back and always enjoy, and just like gives me a lot to think about life and stuff like that.
Yeah,
definitely.
So you mentioned at the top of the show, you mentioned that you'd like to see other anime do things that this anime did, and I was curious what you were meaning by that.
Probably this being the hardest, but having a unique base concept like this, with parasites possessing the head. It's like that's not something we see too often.
Yeah,
kind of
usually
thing.
not.
yeah, and along with that, in an anime, I love seeing a lot of strong development and emotional turmoil kind of thing. It's so hard to put my finger on these things,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like those things, just a unique base concept, not taking all the most like predictable turns.
Right.
Through like fighting scenes, or who's gonna live, who's gonna die, and just like taking care of the people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The characters.
Yeah, the characters. And definitely having strong messages from episode to episode.
Yeah.
Which a viewer can derive.
Right.
That's key in a good anime, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you in a lot of aspects. I think even though it was just kind of started off as like an action show, by the end of it, it's saying a lot about humanity and, like you said, order of nature and things like that. So and they do a good job of it, I think.
Absolutely.
Pretty good job of it. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to see, some more action shows take on some different themes like that. I feel like this one it's still character-based. It's really hard to say stuff like this. It's still character-based because it's still about Shinichi. Mm-hmm. But this one is also much more theme and kind of plot-based. And I feel like a lot of action animes are character-based.
Right. Another thing about the show, I guess, is like... another thing I enjoyed about it, where like action show is just action, I thought this one was a little more survival.
Yeah.
You could feel the desperation of survival.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess in a similar sense, where I enjoyed the original like Avatar: The Last Airbender, is like you could feel a lot of the desperation.
There's a lot of tension.
Through a lot of those battles, they're clinging for their lives by like a hair kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's like in a similar aspect. I enjoyed that in this anime too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Their lives were always on the line, and you could feel it. And in theory, that's every action show, but sometimes you can't feel that. Yeah. You don't feel like the protagonist is in danger in a lot of senses.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You could definitely feel that there were things that could potentially happen to him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to straight up die. Actually, there were moments where I thought, oh, maybe he'll die.
Yeah.
Like, I actually did think that sometimes.
And, like, technically he did once, so it made him vulnerable kind of thing,
So, yeah, I mean, I thought it was overall really good. Actually, here's an aspect, and this is going to sound shallow as fuck. Here's an aspect that I want to see anime do more.
Okay.
Don't shy away from intimacy.
Yeah!
There's a goddamn sex scene that's actually not, like, fan service.
No, it's not fan service.
It's actually just them being in love. And I was like, oh. And here's the sad part. I'm not going to rant on this, but here's the sad part. Okay. Is that I watched that and I went, oh man, that's surprising. It should not be surprising.
Anime's so weird like that because
it's Japanese storytelling, I think, in a lot of ways.
Well, the reason I say it's weird is because they're definitely not afraid of showing sexuality in anime,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time there are these other parts where it's like no relationships, nope. Like, no, like, really strong developing relationships.
No one's in love. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But there's boobs, but no one's in love.
They like
That's the
each
word.
other, but they won't kiss or anything like that. Yeah.
And it did. I watched this and I'm like, oh wait, they're actually having a relationship.
Yeah, actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
actually just another part of it's another aspect of the show. Oh,
It wasn't
well,
a sex
nice.
appeal that just like popped up to like get people in.
Right.
It took the entire show for
Yeah.
them to get to that point, and we're talking about like months upon months upon months of them being together,
Yeah,
kind of
it's
thing.
like a natural. It's a natural like high school relationship.
Absolutely.
I guess in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. So that was good. That was good. I liked that a lot, and I thought it was cool that they had a growing relationship in spite of all the shit that's going on.
yeah.
Because there was a lot of shit going on.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I thought that was good.
And you know,
It did kind of come out of nowhere, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
Kinda. I mean,
Well, it doesn't
their
really come out of
relationship
nowhere, but-
was kind of going all over the place.
Yeah.
But again, they've been through so much together,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So anyway, I don't see more anime do that.
yeah.
Let's
yeah.
go.
If I'm okay with nudity in an anime, we're in good shape.
Yeah. It's kind of true.
This is a blue moon right here, man.
All right, so
But I agree.
yeah. All right, so I want to know what you guys think. Tell us what we missed. Tell me because I think I said a couple times in this discussion, I don't think I got that. If I didn't get it, tell me why.
Tell us what you think all of their themes meant, or what they meant to you. What theme like resonated with you the most? Because there's so many messages people are throwing out in this anime, and all of them are like emotionally pounding. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. So check it out. It's definitely good.
Yeah,
it's a good anime.
absolutely.
It's worth a watch. So I think you can find it on Crunchyroll.
Yep.
So
on Crunchyroll,
easy to find.
free to watch,
Yeah.
etc.,
Go Crunchyroll.
etc.
So yeah, if you want to tell us what you guys think, I guess you can find us at where do I start? Twitter at Fanvoice Podcast,
YouTube.com/thefanvoicepodcast.
Facebook.com/thefanvoice podcast,
Our email fan@thefanvoice.com.
and our website thefanvoice.com where you can find news, reviews, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, downloadable podcasts like this one.
Oh yeah!
Do
if
it.
you're not already listening to the downloaded version, you should go download it.
Yeah.
Put it on your
Yeah.
iPod or whatever you kids have these days.
Listen to Parasyte while you're jogging, or I don't know.
While you're jogging or heading to middle school or whatever it is kids do when they're walking. I don't know. I don't know where anybody else would listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
In the car on the way to work.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's another situation.
That's probably true because I don't know if a middle schooler would be watching. Who am I kidding? I was watching Dragon Ball Z when I was.
Well, we were watching some anime.
Yeah, it's true.
You know,
I was watching Dragon Ball Z.
It's a new age, man.
That's true.
It's a new age.
That's a good point.
Anime is everywhere now.
All right. So yeah, tell us what you think. Download the podcast. Go to our places.
Have fun.
All right. Bye, guys.